Good news you can use with Deborah Horn, yeah. She got the good news you can use. Good news you can use for your life. So listen up, everybody. Listen up, everybody. She got the good news you can use. Good news you can use for your life. If you want to get the info that'll help you throughout your life, yeah.
Hello, and welcome again to another edition of the limited series of the Boomer Beat, where we are talking with guests about the would have, should have, could have of their lives and how things might have been differently if they had made one slight change in their lives. And joining me for this particular episode is one of my college classmates from 40 years ago. It seems like forever, but yeah, 40 years ago. It's Bruce Dunn, who has gone on to do some wonderful things. So, first of all, Bruce, thank you for participating in this project.
Well, thank you for asking.
Yes, and then let's start out by asking you how you got to where you are today.
Well, a lot of people, when they look at my resume and see all the things that I've done, they really can't believe that I've done all the things that I've done. But I look at it and still say, yeah, I've done a lot, but there's people that have done much more. I don't take what I've done for granted, and I'm pretty blessed to have had a 44-year career in the industry. So I'm from Brooklyn, New York originally. I left Brooklyn from high school and went to Ohio University, where I met you.
Yes.
And I showed up there as a recruit for the Ohio University Bobcats playing football. And I was given a tour of the campus by another fellow athlete who was on the wrestling team. And I was introduced to WOUB TV and WOUB radio in the telecom center. And I said, hey, I want to do that. But I was playing football. So it was a hard way to do it. And, you know, fate would have it, depending on how you look at things, I got hurt my freshman year. So while injured, I spend all of my time at the telecom center learning everything from WOUB radio and then getting involved in TV, working my way up as lighting, stage manager, audio, technical director, camera trainer, videotape, and eventually producing content and producing product for the public television station. And as a direct result, with the colleagues and the people that I met at Ohio University, I ended up landing my first job right out of college as a producer director in Hollywood, Florida in 1982.
Wow.
And yeah, so I mean, and it was all alumni contacts. That was the thing. It was all due to alumni contacts. It was someone that was working at the WKID Channel 51 in Hollywood, Florida, which eventually became Telemundo. And he hired me sight unseen based on my resume and the fact that I was an Ohio University grad. So I stayed down there for 7 years, then went to ABC Sports. And then from ABC Sports, went to Penn State and stayed there 7 years, and then left Penn State and came down to Florida, where I am currently, and I've been here since 1996. And I came down here to build a public television station, and I had done that all along the way. Strangely enough, that was not something that I had planned on doing, but from Hollywood, Florida, I went to New York and I did the Olympics. And then from working with ABC Sports, I went to Penn State. And because of my relationships with ABC Sports, I was asked to do another Olympics. So I did the 84 Olympics, the 88 Olympics, the 92 Olympics in Barcelona, Spain, and 96 Olympics in Atlanta. And I did all those while I was at, from 1989 to 96, I was at Penn State. And I did the 2 Olympics while I was at Penn State, where I earned my 2 national Emmys as a
Okay.
graphics manager for putting the graphic look together for the Olympics in Barcelona, Spain, and in Atlanta, Georgia. And then I left there in '96, came down to Florida to build the public television station that wanted to transition from analog to digital, digital to HD. And I came down here in 1996, and I stayed here until 2010, 2011, and then went to ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut to build the new Sports Center studios, the two
Right.
Sports Center studios that you currently see on the air now, the NFL studio, the Mike and Mike show, and the new college football studio sets. Did all that. And that was a 5-year contract, and that lasted up until 2015, 2016. Then I came back to Florida. The one thing that kind of surprised me in that journey was while I was working full-time with ESPN, I took myself off the freelance market and didn't realize that when I left there, I had a non-compete clause in my contract. So I couldn't work for any other network. So 2016 was a rough year for me because I couldn't freelance, couldn't do anything because I couldn't work for the other networks. So that's when I got into teaching. I started using the skill sets as a visiting professor and a teacher and a lecturer. And I took on a position as the digital media specialist at a local high school here in Ormond Beach, Florida. And I've been doing that for 5 years. And then I got back into the freelance world, and 2020 hit. Oh boy, COVID. I'm still trying to recover from 2020.
We all are.
The world changed so much. The industry changed. What we used to talk about back in 2010, 2012, now fast-tracked instantly. Things that we said would eventually happen were now happening immediately. And that whole year of 2020 made everyone realize we didn't need a lot of people that we had.
Right.
And those positions went away, or they were condensed or consolidated with other positions. And I was an associate director for college football and college basketball, and a lot of those AD positions just kind of evaporated and morphed into something else, or they were given to other positions. So basically, I had to reinvent myself yet again after 2020, and did it through teaching digital video technology. And a lot of my colleagues got upset with me because what I started doing basically was teaching high school kids how to do what I was doing professionally and had been doing for 40 plus years.
Right. And let me just interject here and ask you this question. So, was Ohio University your first choice?
Yes, it was, because after visiting 3 other campuses, I visited, if I recall, Seton Hall, which was too close to home because I'm from Brooklyn, New York. So Seton Hall was too close to home. I knew that wasn't going to work. Syracuse was another choice, but too many of my friends were going to Syracuse. If I had gone to Syracuse, I'd still be trying to graduate and get my undergraduate degree. So too many friends were going to Syracuse. And then I went to a place that I didn't even know where it was. I was recruited for football, Wake Forest. I'm like, never heard of the place. Wait, what's Wake Forest? So, yeah, remember, this is back in 1977, 1976. I didn't know what a Wake Forest was. I'm thinking, what am I going to the forest in North Carolina? No, I'm not going to Wake Forest. So I wouldn't even go on a visit. And Ohio University was my choice only because of its communication program. Okay. At the time, it was number 3 in the country in communications. And I wanted to play football because I was playing football at the high school level, but I couldn't get a full scholarship. So I had a 2-year academic scholarship, and I was told, if you make the team, you get the other 2 years. So that's what I did.
So, okay, so now let's think about this in hindsight. Had you not gotten hurt and went on to still play, did you have NFL aspirations?
I didn't have NFL aspirations because back then we only had one claim to fame at Ohio University, and that was Mike Schmidt, who played NFL.
Yeah, that is true. That's true.
The MAC conference was never seen on TV. We had no notoriety. the only star that was even in the NFL was Gary Huggaboom from, I think it was Western Michigan, the Chippewas of Western Michigan. That was it. So NFL was not something I even thought about. It was the fact that I could play football. Quite frankly, I had already made a decision in high school that I wanted to get into radio, TV, theater, performing arts. That was a decision I made. Football was a way to get me to a school to do it. So I knew I wasn't that good. And by getting hurt, that just, kind of solidified that. And when I came off the injury, my heart wasn't in it anymore. And even though I had, a shot at the NFL, that was because of my connections and contacts at WOUB. That was because of being in the media that I made the connections at the network level, at the sports level, to get a tryout for the then Washington Redskins, now called the Washington Football Team. So no, the NFL was not a decision. I wanted to work in radio and television.
Is there a state you wish that you had worked in, lived in, that you did not?
Texas. I was a Dallas Cowboy fan. Strangely enough, that is a story behind why I went to the Washington Redskins, Washington Football Team, is because the Dallas Cowboys wouldn't give me a tryout. So I went to the competition instead. But Texas, I sent out 200 resumes as a college student to try to get work in the state of Texas. I got nothing. Not so much as a thank you for applying. We have nothing at this time. We'll hold your resume for 6 months. And if anything come up, that was the standard line when you apply. Nothing. But Texas was where I wanted to go, quite frankly.
Okay. And are there any places or anything left on your bucket list? Because you've done quite a bit. So is there anything you have left?
There's only one thing that I want to do, and this only came up literally a month ago. I want to do one more Olympics. Because the last Olympics, or the last Olympics I've worked, was in the 1992, 1996. And even though I was a part of the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City, I really didn't work it at that level. And I received 2 Emmys. So I want a 3rd Emmy, but I want it in the new millennium. I wanted to say 2024. So I'm trying to get to Paris in 2024. Beijing is coming up here in 2022, but I have no desire to go there with all the international strife that's going on in the country and the international and political relationships that are teetering back and forth. I don't want to leave the country and do anything. I'm hoping by 2024 things will have settled down, at least in Paris, or at least in France. We don't seem to have, as Americans, we don't seem to have any issues with France right now. And I'm hoping that stays the same. So that's my last hurrah. I want to do the Olympics in 2024, and that will be it. After I do the Olympics, then I will say, okay, whatever happens, happens. But I don't have any specific things that I want to do. Because like you said, I've worked college football, college basketball. I've done World Series, Super Bowls, NBA playoffs. I've done everything. I've seen stars, and I've been part of them. I've hung out with them. One of the things that I tell all of my my young students right now, because they always, when I tell them some of my adventures, wow, did you get an autograph? I said, in all the years, I never asked anybody for an autograph. With all the people I've met, I've never, ever asked them for an autograph. Because my thing was real simple. If I've had the privilege of dining with them, having a conversation with them, spending any time with them, quality time, and for me, quality time is them knowing who you are while you're talking, not just a passing, hey, this is Bruce Dunn, blah, blah, blah. No, quality time. Why would I ask for an autograph? Who's that autograph for? For me? No, I got this. I got the memories. And even back then, we didn't have camera phones and taking selfies and doing all that. But I have the memories and a few pictures, but mostly the memories of all the people I've met. 4 presidents. I've had a chance to not see them from afar, stand next to 4 presidents, be on Air Force One during the Clinton administration when it flew into State College, Pennsylvania, when I was at Penn State. Down here in Florida at Bethune-Cookman when Barack Obama was campaigning, standing next to him. Both Bushes, even Donald Trump, all of them. So for me, why would I ask for an autograph?
Well, our time is up. I did have another question I wanted to try to get in here, but I'm going to ask you this one last question. What words of wisdom would you give to young people who, are on their own journey? Because we all started out young once on a journey too. So now that you're still on your journey, but just further ahead, what advice, what words of wisdom would you share?
I would say to anyone, decide what it is you want to do and then go for it. Do not listen to the critics and the people that say you can't do it, as long as you have prepared yourself to do it. Now, you don't have the credentials to do it and you don't have the skill sets and you say you want to be a doctor, that ain't going to happen. We know that. But if you've done all the things that you need to do and you're on that journey, don't let somebody deter you and say, oh, you're not going to do it, because all the odds were against me. Kid coming from Brooklyn, New York, going to the Appalachian Mountains of Ohio. There's no way I should have done what I did at Ohio University, but I did it.
Wow. Yeah, and you did. And you did it quite well. And you're still doing it quite well. Well, Bruce, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of, I know what is a busy schedule. You will be in Paris in 2024. I believe that we'll speak that into existence. And I want to thank those of you who will be tuning in for this particular episode. And remember this, you have gifts to give the world. So find your own unique voice and prosper. And remember to stay empowered along your journey. See ya.
Good news you can use for your life. If you want to get the info that'll help you throughout your life. Yeah.